Hello, and welcome back to the bombastic world of Grand Blue Dreaming. Iori Kitahara moves to Aizu for university, hoping for an ideal college experience. Instead, he gets pulled into the wild, alcohol-fueled antics of the diving club, leading to his cousin Chisa Kotego's disapproval when she catches him partying. Make sure to subscribe and like for more. Iori Kitahara arrives in Aizu and is picked up by his uncle, who drives him to Grand Blue, a diving shop where Iori will stay while he attends university. As they enter the shop, Iori sees a woman coming out of the sea, and inside, he is shocked to find a group of naked, drunk, and muscular men playing a stripping game, average bar in Ohio. He hurriedly runs out but is chased and dragged back by two of the men, who explain they were deciding who would handle the equipment. Iori joins Kotobuki, one of the guys who came after him on equipment duty, and a beautiful young woman greets him, revealing herself as his older cousin. Back at the shop, Kotobuki and Tokita scold Iori for complaining and pressure him into drinking and playing the stripping game. Shisa returns to find Iori drunk and nearly naked, causing her to distance herself from him. Despite feeling humiliated by Chisa and worried about his situation, Iori is forced into another drinking session. The next day, he wakes up nearly naked in front of the lecture hall just in time for orientation, and after a brief encounter with a student, he tries to get Chisa to share her clothes, but his request makes him seem perverted, and he is chased by a security guard. While hiding, Iori meets Kohai, who punches him and alerts the authorities when Iori asks for his clothes. He then meets Nanaka and Kotobuki, who agree to give him clothes if he recruits another member for the Peekaboo Diving Club, so he manages to trick Kohai into joining. Eventually, Iori, Chisa, and Kohai are accepted into the Peekaboo Diving Club by Tokita and Kotobuki and have a drinking contest with large glasses of vodka. Iori realizes he hasn't slept in his new room yet, but the club is planning a mixer with women from Umi Women's University. Excited to join, he tries to set up his room quickly to show Nanaka that he's responsible, so Tokita, Kotobuki, and Kohai offer to help, and he agrees. However, despite Iori wanting a normal-looking room, they keep filling it with strange items and posters, creating awkward situations whenever Nanaka or Chisa checks on him, after which he eventually has to sleep in a rundown room. The next day, Tokita and Kotobuki invite the new members to a local pool to prepare for deep-sea diving, though Chisa is hesitant. After changing clothes, Tokita and Kotobuki try to help Iori, and Kohai get used to being underwater. However, when Tokita pulls off Kohei's bottom, Iori starts having second thoughts. It's just boys being boys, nothing much, I'm sure. To boost his confidence, Kotobuki tells him to imagine being in a bath, which means being completely naked. Unfortunately, Chisa arrives late, sees this, calls him a pervert, and distances herself from the group, shocking Iori. Later that night, Nanaka takes Iori to a nearby aquarium at Chisa's request, inspiring him to try diving. He gratefully buys an octopus keychain as a present for Chisa. Iori wakes up from a nightmare and exits his room, finding Tokita and Kotobuki holding a male in a female school uniform. They point the costumes at Iori, who is joined by Kohai, as they explain that the costumes are important for diving. Chisa walks in and is surprised to see Iori and Kohai seriously examining the costumes. Realizing the situation, Chisa clears up any misunderstanding, adding to Iori and Kohei's confusion, so Tokita and Kotobuki quickly explain that diving is expensive, and to raise money for the club, Iori and Kohai are being entered into the male pageant at the Aizu Spring Festival. Later, Iori tries deep-sea diving for the first time in a wetsuit under Kotobuki's supervision, and after overcoming difficulty breathing with an oxygen tank, he returns to the shop and excitedly tells Chisa about his underwater experience, which pleases her. The next morning, he wakes up next to a half-naked woman, so Tokita and Kotobuki introduce her as Azusa, whom they don't consider a traditional woman. I don't want to know what they mean by that. While Tokita and Kotobuki run an errand, Iori, Kohai, and Chisa train to make okonomiyaki for the club's shop during the festival, while Iori and Kohai secretly try to get Chisa drunk to trick her into entering the women's pageant so they won't have to enter the male pageant. However, all their attempts backfire, and Azusa gets the boys to admit their true ulterior motive. Later that night, Azusa beats the young men in Yakyukin and convinces Chisa to give the beauty pageant a try, so the next morning, Topita and Kotobuki announce that Chisa has agreed to enter the women's pageant. The Aizu Spring Festival begins with fireworks and the Peekaboo members cheer, except for Chisa. However, Iori and Kohai become less excited when they realize they have to run their club's okonomiyaki stand, competing with the more popular tennis club stand, Tinkerbell. In the afternoon, the women's beauty pageant begins, so Chisa takes the stage in a dress, looks stiff, so the club tries to boost her attractiveness but fails. Taking Koi's idea, Iori plans to throw super balls to lift Chisa's dress, which works, but Chisa gets pissed at him for doing this. While hiding with Koi, a girl asks Koi out, but he refuses. Before the men's beauty pageant, the club has a brief drinking party, where Chisa forces Iori to drink 2 liters of shochu as punishment, after which he and Kohai see Aina crying outside as she complains that her tennis club friends see her as a joke, so Iori promises to cheer her up. At the men's pageant, Kudo, the tennis club captain, competes against Kohai for Azusa's love as Iori, disguised as Azusa, embarrasses Kudo in front of the crowd, cheering Aina up. Chisa and Iori are declared the winners of their respective pageants.
I am so excited, I think I'm gonna explode!
And as they celebrate, Aina thanks him and Kohai while they drink from washtubs, upsetting Chisa, who doesn't feel appreciated. The next day, while running the stand, Chisa, now famous, is surrounded by men trying to ask her out, so she annoyingly asks for Iori and Kohai's help, but realizes too drunk. Later, as Chisa and a drunken Iori are honored on stage, she announces that he's her boyfriend to fend off the other men hearing, which the guys in the audience get pissed at Iori. My man should get ready for some serious death threats. While waiting for class to start, Iori and Kohai notice that their male classmates are glaring at them. Curious about the reason, Iori asks Chisa for an explanation, but their conversation only makes the men angrier. Meanwhile, Kohai finds it amusing that the anger is directed solely at Iori, so to divert attention from himself, he falsely involves Kohai in a scandal involving Azusa, but this made-up relationship leads both Iori and Kohai to receive threatening letters from their classmates. During lunch, Nojima and Yamamoto approach Iori and Kohai looking for advice on dating, but when they realize that Iori and Kohai can't provide any help, Nojima and Yamamoto jokingly threaten to get rid of them in the mountains. Despite Iori and Kohai's requests, they can't stop them and end up promising to organize a mixer as a way to fix the situation. Later that day, Iori and Kohai convince Azusa to help organize the mixer, with the condition that Iori pretends to be Chisa's boyfriend. So Azusa reluctantly agrees and introduces a new member to Peekaboo, whom Iori and Kohai recognize as the cakey girl from the festival without her makeup. At the mixer, Iori and Kohai go with Nojima and Yamamoto to a bar, where they're surprised to find Aina and her friends all wearing cakey makeup. Despite this, Yamamoto keeps trying to charm the women, with support from Iori, Kohai, and Nojima acting as his wingman, but they shockingly discover Kanako's natural beauty without makeup, causing the other men to hurriedly try to impress her. As the mixer ends, the women leave laughing, showing no interest in the men, after which the guys dishearteningly go off to drink somewhere else. While the women head to a cafe, isn't that how every mixer ends for the losers? Aina begins to show signs of affection towards Iori. As the German language test is approaching, Iori asks Chisa to sit next to him so he can cheat, but she firmly refuses. With Chisa out of the picture, Iori, Kohai, and their classmates brainstorm ways to sneak cheat sheets into the test, but all their plans flop, which results in them having to retake the test. Later, Grand Blue throws a party to officially welcome Aina into Peekaboo. However, Aina starts feeling uncomfortable with everyone's behavior, and the party drags on until only the core group remains. Before the after-party kicks off, Aina insists everyone puts on clothes before she goes with Chisa to the convenience store. While they're away, Iori and Kohai start arguing and decide to compete in a Pocky game against each other. When Aina and Chisa return, they catch the group playing Yakyukin, irritating Aina. The day after the party, Topita and Kotobuki try to teach hand signals to the new members for their upcoming diving trip. But none of them get it right and end up having a full day for practice. During this, Nanaka notices Iori is struggling to connect with Chisa, so she pairs him and Chisa as diving partners so that they can become closer the next day. Despite some awkward moments and members changing clothes in public, they head to the sea for their dive session, and Iori begins to see Chisa's true personality underwater and enjoys diving with her. After surfacing, all the new members except Chisa express their love for being underwater, and after seeing Iori and Chisa chatting, Nanaka believes her plan worked, but Chisa spoils the moment by playfully pushing Iori into the sea. After their makeup German exam, Iori's friends visit him at Grand Blue to check if he really lives with Chisa, as Kohai said. Worried they might also discover Nanaka living there, Iori convinces he to stay away. When they arrive, Iori nervously shows them his room, where they find Azusa's bra and Aina's cakey costume, causing a bit of panic. Finding Iori's boycon outfit and job ads, they wonder if everything is being used. They hang out and drink in Iori's room as Yamamoto jokes about seeing an angel, referring to Nanaka, and later tries to ask her out, but gets pranked by PAB members, who strip him down. Chisa confirms that Iori lives with her, shocking his classmates who start beating him up. Feeling guilty, Chisa apologizes to him later. Several days later, Topita and Kotobuki announce that Tinkerbell has challenged Peekaboo to a revenge tennis match and start off the matches. Facing tough opponents, Kudo tries using dirty tactics by spiking their drinks, but Iori retaliates by doing the same to Tinkerbell's team, securing Peekaboo's first victory. In the second match, despite Chisa's efforts, she and Aina lose and feel embarrassed, and in the final match, Iori shows off his unexpected tennis skills, but Kohai struggles, so he tries to use drastic measures to win, but ends up knocking out Kohai instead, swapping with Topita and Kotobuki, who get the final victory for them, after which the club plans a trip to Okinawa with the extra prize money. Get ready for some swimsuit shots, boys. As Iori and Kohai excitedly prepare for their Okinawa trip, Topita offers them a part-time job at a moving company to help cover their diving expenses, and the next day, tired from their work, Chisa, Aina, and Azusa inquire about their situation, so Iori and Kohai admit they're strapped for cash after blowing most of their earnings on drinks right after payday. When Azusa asks where Topita is, Iori says he's out trying to earn back their lost money, and Aina realizes Kotobuki is also working and suggests they visit him. They'd find Kotobuki working as a bartender, intriguing Iori and Kohai, who decide to try bartending themselves. The bar manager allows them to give it a shot, but their lack of cocktail knowledge frustrates Aina when they fail miserably. Their argument over their mistakes confuses the manager, who misunderstands Iori's response and mistakenly thinks Iori and Kohai are in a romantic relationship with each other. We actually got two bros being gay before someone in this show got into a real relationship. Later that night, Iori and Kohai join their classmates at Yamamoto's house, where they decide to prank Midori, who has been distant due to his girlfriend. They interrupt his evening with his girlfriend, and after several failed attempts to disrupt their moment, Kohai successfully impersonates a woman's voice, hearing which Midori's girlfriend angrily rushes away. Iori remarks that he senses a loser upon seeing him before Midori asks his ex-girlfriend if she can introduce him to her friends since they're no longer dating, and gets punched in the face. Iori and Kohai try to set up another mixer for their classmates, planning to include Chisa in a King's gang with the Peekaboo group, but Kohai picks the wrong player while holding the King's stick, which makes Shinji arrange their mixer with the local men's rugby team. Later, Aori mentions he got another temporary job directing traffic for a convention, and the Peekaboo team goes to a diving equipment store to buy new gear for their trip. Kohai finds women's wetsuits that reference a popular anime and is excited when Chisa and Aina try them on, even though only he gets the reference. When they return home, Nanaka tells them they need to work more and make up for the money spent on new diving gear, and the next day, Azusa, Chisa, and Aina end up working at the same convention as Iori and Kohai. Peekaboo arrives in Okinawa for their trip as Aina happily says she looks forward to creating happy memories, But her initial joy is quickly ruined when the men of the group start running around naked, which makes her convince them to go to a public beach where they have to wear swimming trunks. At the beach, Iori and Kohai decide to ride a banana boat to determine who stays in the men's room with Shinji and Kotobuki. However, both boys try to mess each other up in the same way, falling off the boat at the same time. Back at the beach house, Kotobuki decides that Kohai won by a wave, and Azusa lets Iori sleep in the same room with her and Nanaka, but he can't fall asleep with the two curvy women on either side of him, so he ends up studying the diving license exam guide instead, before taking drastic measures to fall asleep. The next day, Iori, Kohai, and Aina take the diving exam in two parts, a written test and a practical exam in deep water. During the test, Aina wants to lie about her remaining oxygen, but Iori helps by reassuring her that the seniors of Peekaboo are better than the ones from her former club, and as the group celebrates, Nanaka tells Iori that he's about to fail the test. Iori tries to find a way to practice privately for the remaining test portion, worried about how Kohei and Aina might react if they see him fail. Peekaboo decides to rent a car to go to a nearby fish market. However, the only vehicle available that will fit them is a flatbed truck. At the fish market, Aina and Kohai overhear the others asking for inappropriate things, but Chisa explains they are actual names of fish. Back at the beach house, the group splits into pairs to cook dinner in shifts, so Iori teams up with Chisa and asks for help with his diving practice. However, Aina and Kohai think they are dating. That night, Aina follows Chisa downstairs and learns from her that she was trying to help Iori practice. Aina then helps as Iori takes off his swim trunks. However, a policeman shows up, forcing Iori to stay in the pool to avoid being seen naked by him. Of course, this guy gets caught up in the most outrageous situations you can think of. The next day, he ends up sick in bed, so while Aina and Kohai continue their exam, Azusa stays behind to take care of him. After some weird first aid methods, she half-jokingly offers to have sex with Iori, but Iori refuses and learns from Azusa that Shinji already has a girlfriend, and the two of them end up getting drunk just as Kohai and Aina return with their diving licenses. The members of Peekaboo meet up at Miyakojima to go deep-sea diving. Iori, who didn't finish his exam because he got sick, has to stay in shallower waters while being teased by Kohai. As the licensed group goes diving, Chisa decides to stay on the boat to comfort Iori, who is suffering from seasickness. He then tells Chisa that despite missing the license, he enjoyed diving and would love to come back again. That night, after hearing that the group has been banned from their chosen restaurant, Shinji and Kotobuki announce that they will hold their own otori in the hotel, where everyone will drink from a giant pot of mixed alcohol, so everyone starts by pouring in spiritus, and Iori and Kohai try to find a way out of drinking such strong alcohol, but soon surrender to it. Aina later takes a trip with a mostly naked Iori to get more booze for the party, who rants about not wearing anything when they return. She offers Aina a drink, but she accidentally picks the heavily alcoholic beverage, and her personality completely changes as she scares Iori and Kohai into running away from the hotel, after which Iori and Kohai think of their time in the diving club, before Aina quickly catches up with them. The next morning on their return flight, Chisa happily watches the pictures she took on their trip. Thanks for joining us on today's journey with Iori and his friends. If you enjoyed the video, smash that like button, subscribe for more, and hit the bell to stay updated. Until next time, stay curious and visit some damn beach cities.